Welcome to WGOL and the Coach Dustin Goodwin Show, sponsored by Russellville Mayor David Grissom. My name is Caden Pounders, and I'm joined by the coach of the Russellville Golden Tigers, Dustin Goodwin. Coach, how are you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Coming off a big win last week, first overall win, first region win against region rival Lawrence County, beat the Red Devils 35-6. Coach, how did it feel? How important was it to get that win? That first win last Friday, and what did it mean to the team afterwards?
Well, it was great. I thought our kids came out prepared well during the week. We talked about sort of the slow start to start, but we progressed as the week went and felt like our kids were ready to play and came out focused, ready to work and do everything they needed to do to get a win. And I thought we did a lot of really good things. We held Lawrence County to 6 points and were able to put up 35 and really three quarters and had almost 400 yards offense. We ended up with 140 or so passing and almost 250 rushing and had another long one called back. So all in all, I was pleased with our efforts and in every aspect.
You talked about the running game. Really got it going last week with Taurus Davis, and then quarterback Wick Goodwin got off a few long runs. Devin Morris getting in there and had a good contribution. That was something that you guys had talked about, really wanting to establish, and were able to do that last week. How important was that for what y'all were able to do offensively last week?
Well, it really was, and it all starts up front. And kudos to those guys up front. They're new, they're like everybody else, but they're starting to gel and communicate with one another and block the right people. And they're the ones that open the lanes, And then the quarterback's got to make the reads. And like you said, Taurus had a really good night. He had 12 carries for over 120 yards and along with 74 and scored twice. And Witt was able to have 6 rushes for 79 yards and had some nice gains for him as well. And Devin ended up with 32 yards rushing and had probably a 65, 70-yard touchdown called back in the fourth quarter. So, all in all, it was a really good night. And like I said, it's a credit to the offensive line and making the right reads and then the backs getting the ball where it's supposed to go. So it was good for us.
When I talked to you last week, you talked about how of course, the first 2 games you guys were able to throw the ball effectively. That's really what y'all had to rely on because you weren't able to get the running game going as well as you wanted to. But you talked about how the running game plays into how well you can throw the ball down the field. Of course, you like to spread it out and go vertical, go horizontal, and just really get the defenses keep the defenses guessing. Can you kind of just explain, of course, and I should mention Bryson Cooper had 2 touchdown passes last week, which is a benefit of being able to throw the ball around the field more. But can you just kind of explain how when you have a good offensive rushing game and how that plays into having being able to be more efficient passing the ball?
Yeah, they absolutely help each other. We want to be balanced in our attack, and I thought we made good decisions and played well in the passing game as well. We ended up 13 for 19. We did have 3 drops, which is uncharacteristic for us, and then a throwaway. So you go through a game to where you have 2 true incomplete passes, no turnovers, no fumbles, no interceptions, and then able to get 2 in the air too. We ended up with 3 on the ground and 2 in the air. So it was a very balanced night for us. A very productive night for us, and it was well balanced. So all in all, this is how we want most Friday nights to be.
Special teams looked good. 5 of 5 on extra points, and I think you only had a punt once or twice in that game, and no issues there. Defensively, though, only allowed 6 points. Defense kind of looked how it did against the Deschler. In the Deschler game, we'll give up a few plays here and there, but ultimately kind of a bend don't break defense. We're able to keep the Red Devils out of the end zone. What's your grade? What's your rating for the defensive effort last week against Lawrence County?
Thought we did some really good things in the box and in the secondary as well. We came away with 2 turnovers. Had a Jason Noel got a strip for us in a short return that ended a drive for them in the third quarter and our early fourth quarter. And then Malachi had a really good interception in the third quarter that paused the drive as well. And I thought we really played well. We're getting a rush on the passer. We're getting better and better in our fits in the box and our assignments there. We did have some missed tackles in open field that we've got to get cleaned up, and that we will. They've been addressed, and but it's just technical stuff and not leaving our feet and running through contact and seeing what we hit and that sort of thing. But we're leveraging the ball well, and most importantly, I think we're playing with great effort, and the guys are enjoying being on that side of the ball as well.
Coach, is there anything else you want to add about last week's win against Lawrence County?
There's not.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get Coach Goodwin's thoughts on tonight's region game against East Limestone. You're listening to the Coach Dustin Goodwin Show, sponsored by Russellville Mayor David Grissom. We'll be right back on WGOL. Welcome back to WGOL and the Coach Dustin Goodwin Show, presented by Russellville Mayor David Grissom. Coach, coming off last win, which you talked about in the last segment, how was practice this week? Obviously, a win gives you some confidence. But what was the mood and energy like, and what did you see from your players in practice this week?
Well, I mean, I think we've really had a good week. The energy is and the enthusiasm's been up. We get a couple of guys back that we didn't have playing for us last week. So 2 guys that get a ton of playing time that were out. So excited to have those guys back, and I think the guys are ready to play. It's another region game, so we got to show up ready to go, and we're in front of our home crowd again. So we're excited for tonight.
What can you tell us about this team you're playing tonight, East Limestone? They're coming in 0-2, but they did have a bye week last week. What are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, and how do you plan on tackling them tonight? Well,
they do have some new faces defensively, and I start there just because I'm looking at them a lot and do a good job. They've got players that are able to make plays when they have the ability, and offensively I think they're even better than they were last year. They're more multiple. Have a quarterback that runs around well and throws it well enough for sure, and got a couple of guys that can really run. So we're going to be solid in all 3 phases, just like every other week, and in order to get our second region win.
This is the last home game. You kind of just talked about it just a second ago, but the last home game for a few weeks. What do you want fans to know tonight that they were able to come out to the game? And what do you want to see from your players? Or is there anything specifically that you do going into before a road stretch? You think we need to really work on this, whether it's communication or certain areas of the areas that you just want to fix, or anything like that? That you think about before you go into a long road stretch like you're about to next week?
Well, oftentimes it's a lot easier to prepare when you're playing on the road because there's so much less that you have to prepare for with everything that's going on in the stadium. But I think that'll sort of take care of itself, and we'll be able to focus on our opponent and then playing, after this week. But, there's nothing quite like playing at home at the same time. And all those things that you have to do and prepare for are well worth it. Russellville's a special place, like we said. So, like we said many times, and we've got a mother-son's tailgate going on tonight. It's youth night. Airevac's supposed to bring the game ball if they don't get called out again, and so we really hope the fans are packed in the stands. We have kids everywhere that the future of Russellville Golden Tiger football and athletics, and we hope they're all here and pulling for our Golden Tigers, and the louder they are, the more people in the stands, the more energized our kids will be, and want to put on a good show for them. So hopefully the stands are packed and our kids play well and perform well for them.
All right, Coach, that's all I got. Do you have anything else you want to add about tonight's game?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, that's Coach Dustin Goodwin. Thank you for your time, Coach, and good luck tonight.
Thank you.
We hope you'll join us here again next week on WGOL at the same time. You've been listening to the Coach Dustin Goodwin Show, sponsored by Russellville Mayor David Grissom.